by 12 needs a lot of photo mats. I mean, just for an example, this is my travelogue one, and I haven't finished the photo mats for that, so that's quite small. There's quite a lot of growing room in it, and I'll come on to talking about the hinges in a minute. But my AB Studio one, it's covered in cat hair, is an awful lot thicker, and that's because it's got an awful lot of photo mats in it. Now, there is a difference between the two books, and I'll explain what the difference is and why there is a difference. When you look at the travelogue book, it's got wider hinges than on the AB Studio book. And that is because after I made the AB Studio book first, and I have little patience to make lots of prototypes. I just tend to make one and then I'll make a second and improve it, which was perfect because obviously with this book I wanted to make two. So one thing that I found out when I made the AB Studio book was that the hinge spine wasn't wide enough to put lots of photos in, because this is a book that's designed for lots and lots and lots of photos. So this AB Studio book, the one that I've been showing you, has got a shorter, smaller spine than the travelogue one. But it's the travelogue width of spine that we are making because it just makes the book sit a lot better. There's not going to be any gaping. It works a whole lot better. So that's why, if you look at them in pictures, they look different. That's the reason. But this book, look how big. I mean, you can look how big you can make this. You fill that with photo maps, and it's huge. It's a really big book. I mean, I think I said you could put about 100 photos in here. You can't. You could put hundreds, absolutely hundreds, and I want to make it so that it will fit. But even if you don't put too many photos in, the hinge, it still sits flat and it still looks nice. It doesn't matter if you don't fill it. It's still it works either way. But if you wanted to expand it, then you know you can make a very, very wide book, and that's the reason why I've done these hinges the way that I have. It gives you room to grow, but it still looks nice if you don't want to grow, or you don't grow it as much as you think you're going to, basically. So what we're going to do tonight is we are going to put our books together. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make the very, very back page of our book. So to do that, you're going to need 2 sheets of 12 by 12 cardstock, and we are going to need 2 of our connectors, and these are the things that we made at the very beginning. So if you remember, and I've deliberately not going to use ones that I've already got, I'm going to start again. Our connectors were 12 by 2 inches, and you're going to need 2 of them for the project tonight. So I'm just going to cut 2 more connectors at 12 by 2 inches. And I'm going to score them, if I can find my scoreboard, on the 2-inch side, just like elasticated trousers, Jill. Yes, I've found the delight in those lately. Hi, Eunice. Hello, Tallulah. Right, so our connectors are 12 by 2 inches, and we're going to score on the 2-inch side at 1 inch. Yeah, I get really frustrated with a lot of books that I make or I see being made, where they are absolutely beautiful works of art, absolutely stunning. They are, you know, a joy to make. There's so many amazing designers out there, and they always work perfectly, unless you want to start putting photos in. If you are just making a book for the joy of making a book, then they are perfect. But if you want to actually use it to put photos in, you end up with gaping bits because, you know, there's not always the room, which is why you'll find a lot of gussets in my books, which is why I tend to, you know, make them able to grow with you. Hello, Louise, you're very welcome here. Guten Abend, Bianca. Right, so I've got my 2 connectors. So I'm going to fold them over. And I'm just going to... You guys, I bought over a year's worth. Oh, hello, here's Ruby. Do you want to come up? Hold on, come on. You'll be delighted to hear Ruby has recovered from her cat flu. And come on, come on. She's absolutely well and fine now. Hang on, I just have to make her a bed. But she's stopped sneezing. She's very well. She's very happy. She's back to being her normal self. But she wants company. So she's going to have to just sit in the corner. Right, go over there, Roo. Okay, good girl. Okay, right. So, what was I talking about? I can't even remember now.
You bought over a year's worth.
Oh yes, I bought over a year's worth of well, more than I've sold in a year of these bone fossils, and they've all gone. They have all gone, and what is worse is I don't think I can get any more until at least July. So there you go. I have got some in some big kits left with other items, but not the single ones on their own. So anyway, I'm going to try a small one because I think they're coming in a bit sooner, and see what I think about it. Right, okay. Ruth, do you know what? I'll tell you a story about Ruby. Ruby, oh Alison, tell me how it goes. I want to know. Was it good for you is my question. Anyway, yes, Ruby. Right, Ruby was a stray, and she lived in the house as you're looking at the street, she lived at the house to the left of us, where there was about 8 or 9 cats living, because the people to the right of us got kittens, and when the kittens grew up and were about a year old, they chucked them out and got more kittens. Don't ask, don't approve, whatever. The guy who had the 9 cats, he was collecting these cats up that they got rid of, that they chucked out, and getting them snipped. And Ruby was one of the ones that had snippy snip, but she decided to come and live with Rach and I, because this was about 11 or 12 years ago. And I was talking to Brett, the guy that was very kindly collecting these cats and getting them neutered. And I said, you know, would it be okay if this cat came to live with us? And he was absolutely delighted about that. And I said, oh, that's great. I said, well, we're going to call him Hamish because he's got red hair. And ginger cats are boys. Except he pointed out that Ruby wasn't a boy at all because he'd had her neutered. So we were driving across Cannock Chase, and the Kaiser Chiefs song came on, and Ruby she was ever since. So that's why. Anyway, pointless story. There we go. Good news to Lula. We've got our connectors. What we're going to do is exactly the same as we did. Everything's covered in cat hairs. We're going to do exactly what we did at the very, very beginning. So we're going to put some glue on the inside. I've got new glue tonight as well because I've run out of the other one I had. So some glue on that inside connector. I don't think I've got enough glue there. And I'm just going to attach this piece of 12 by 12 almost, but not quite, up to the fold on the connector. I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch. Oh, I haven't even put that on straight. Okay. Right. So I'm digging another hole in this, because they come sealed, you see, and I don't think my hole's big enough. Hi Anne, you're forgiven. Martha, I sent you some tracking. Right, okay. Glue on the other side. Lay your other piece of 12 by 12 on top. Hang on, I'm going to take my glasses off for this bit. Make sure it lines up. Okay, and we've now attached those two pieces together, just like we did with our front cover. So now what we're going to do is put some glue on this connector, on the inside there. And attach that to the back of that piece of 12 by 12, leaving once again about 1/8 of an inch. Lift that up, make sure that that's about right. Make sure it's straight. Which it's not. Lie that down and fold that connector over. So as you'll notice, the connectors are opposite to each other. They're on the opposite sides. So we've got a connector here and here, so that when we look through, we've got a hole there, okay? So we're only putting the connectors on two sides of those 12 by 12s. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that that's got really good adhesion. So this is the back page of our book. So here's my travelogue book, and I'm only grabbing it because it's the nearest one. So I've got my back page there, which is what we've just done here. And then if you open up the book, the inside is, on this book, I've made, oh, Ruby, I'm so sorry, darling. Sorry, baby. Oh, I know, I'm sorry. I've done a scrapbook layout, but on the AB Studio, I've made a pocket. So it's entirely up to you what you want to do, whether you want to make a pocket to go on there, whether you want to do a scrapbook layout or whatever. So that is the back page. Dead easy, done. What we're going to do next is we're going to attach this page, which was last week's lesson. And I have to admit, I haven't finished decorating mine. I apologise profusely. So, if you grab last week's homework that we did, hold on, it's all tangled up because I've got everything together here. I'm doing a Christmas version, so this is where I'd put my inserts, and these are my flappy pockets. Oh, do you want to see something? Look, shall I show you? Look, place photo here. My stamps came today. Look at this. You can't, thank you dear, you can't see, I don't think, unless it's in real life, just how gorgeous these are. And they're so clever because it's got the CS in the top there, so that I know which way round to place my stamp, so that it's got the, you know, the right way up. But each of them is different, and they're just full of mica and colour and swirliness and glitter. They're just lovely. They really are. And I can't explain to you what they're like because photos just don't seem to do it justice. So, yeah. So that's what it'll look like when you use it. So that is the that's the stamp. Hi Pam. I use my preferred glue is Sticks 2. I do sell it, so I only sell what I use and what I like. I've got two sorts that I've got, the 3D PVA, and I've got some general PVA. They are both excellent, but they are slightly different. I prefer to use the this one in books generally. It is slightly more expensive, but the reason for that is that it does dry fairly quickly. You've still got a bit of wriggle room, but if I want something to stay in place quickly, then this just dries that little bit quicker. But both glues are excellent, I have to say. I love sticks too. I think they're really great. I've been using it for a number of years now, and I'm very happy with the quality. Changed the bottles though. They used to be a bit flatter and much easier to post. Lisa, I'm not quite sure. Next couple of days. They are all completely different. They are all individual. And I'm actually going to stamp with each of them.
Quality control.
Because I just want to make sure that everything's fine, because these are handmade. Everyone is different, and I just want to be confident that everything stamps fine, because I got them this afternoon, and my first stamps with them, I wasn't 100% happy, but now I know exactly what to do. So I want to write a little bit about the best way to use it, because they're not like, you know, the stamps that you get, the top quality stamps that you get, you know, from a lot of manufacturers. These are handmade, individual, absolutely beautiful, but they work a little bit differently. So I need to write a bit of an example of how to do it. You only stuck one connector to one piece. I want you to stick a connector to the opposite side. Okay, so you've got a connector on either side so that you've got a hole all the way through. Okay. Right, so anyway, that's me waxing lyrical about the stamps. So they will be available very soon. But I want to personally test each of them and make sure they're all right. They do clean up nicely though, so although it will have been stamped, you probably won't notice. But I'm really pleased, you know, now I've got the hang of it. And because I haven't finished doing this, I'm just sticking that together there before I put my magnet in. So that holds it together. Right, so this was last week's homework, okay. So, here is our 12 by 12 back page. And I'm going to lay it down in the way that it will open. So, I'm going to have my openings to the left and to the right. This piece, the bit that we made last week, goes onto the left-hand side of the book. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do before I do it. So what we need to do is here we've got a 1/4 inch gusset, and then we've got our flap. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some glue just on the inside of that flap, not on both sides, but just on the inside. Oh, is everybody else all right for sound and video? Because Karen seems to have lost it.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah, okay. And then we're going to glue it inside the left hand side of our back page, but we are only going to glue it to the top page of the back, because we still need to have a hole there. Okay, all right, that's really important. So we're going to put some glue on the inside of that flap there, and we are going to stick it here to the inside there, making sure that we've still got the hole. Okay, all right. So I thought I'd better explain that before we actually do it. Oh, should have put magnets on that. Right, so I'm now going to put some wet glue on. This is joyful because I'm left-handed and I'm doing this right-handed. So I'm just going to put some glue on that flap, and remember we've got that gusset there, that 1/4 inch gusset, and I'm just going to slip it inside the back page up to where that 1/4 inch gusset starts, and I'm going to centre it top to bottom. It won't fit exactly, but you'll have a little gap at the top and the bottom, because if you remember we've made a gap with a connector, and I am just going to glue that down. Okay, so that when I close it, I have still got a hole here. Okay, very important. All right, so that is how we are going to attach our left hand page. Okay, and we're going to glue that down. So that, get this wire out of the way, sorry Ruby, is this bit here. That is attached now to our book. Okay, and then here we've obviously got our back page. All right, But what we're going to do now is we're going to make the hinges. So what I need you to do is I need you to get one piece of your back 12 by 12 and I need you to get your Tyvek. So put that piece together to one side that we've just done, and I want you to grab your trimmer, I want you to grab your Tyvek, and I want you to grab some 12 by 12. Okay, so first of all, we've got two hinges, one that is 12 by 4.5 inches and one that is 12 by 5.5 inches. So I'm going to cut my first one, which is 12 by 4.5, and I'm going to cut the other one, which is 12 by 5.5 inches. Okay, and those are our hinges, so put those to one side. And now we are going to cut our Tyvek in half. Okay, it's the closure Terry, I think. Is it? Yeah, Louise, a lot of the things are very interchangeable. You don't have to do all the flaps, you can just do pockets. If you go and have a look in the group, there is an album in the photos section where I have put the pictures of the book from start to finish for both versions, and it might make it clearer. There's also a video on YouTube which is an overview of the book, so you can see which bits go where. Right, so this piece of Tyvek that I've got is English A4, which means that it is about 8.25 inches across, and I want to cut it in half. Oh yeah, no, it's an insert, Terry. We're going to make that next week. So half of 8.25 is 4 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to cut that in half at 4 1/8 of an inch. So I've got two pieces of Tyvek now, okay? And what we need to do next is we need to attach this piece of Tyvek one to one piece of card and centre it like that, and one to the other piece of card and centre it like that. Now, because A4 is slightly shorter than 12 by 12, you're going to have a bit of a gap top and bottom. Doesn't matter, we're going to cover it. You know, they're going to know the Tyvek is here to do a job, not to look pretty. All right, so we're going to centre it side to side and top to bottom, and the same on the other piece. Okay, so I like my Tyvek to sit absolutely flush to my card. So the way that I do it is I use double-sided tape. This is another example of the very few times when double-sided tape I think actually works better than glue. So I'm going to attach double-sided tape to the back of my actually I think it's going to be easier if I put it directly onto the card. So you can either use, I mean, I'm sure we've all got like 1/2 inch double-sided tape, but as it happens, I've got some quite wide stuff that I like to use. So I have got some of this in the shop actually. So I'm just going to attach it to my card, and I need to make sure that it butts up really well. Okay, it doesn't have to be pretty, but I do need to make sure that no matter how wide my double-sided tape is, it butts up really closely. So if I were to do that with all 1/2 inch pieces, which would work perfectly well, I'm just stalling for time, it's got to join up. That is really, really important. Okay, so that double-sided tape is now stuck really well onto that piece of card. I'm going to just take that off, and I'm going to lie one of my pieces of Tyvek onto the top of that, making sure that it's centered side to side and top to bottom. Okay, not quite straight, but it doesn't matter. But that is now attached to the card. Okay, so black side up, by the way, not white side up, because you want it to show as little as possible. Okay, the cardstock is 12 by 12 diameter. I'm using a piece of 12 by 12, which is cut 12 by 12. No, it's not. It's cut 12 by 4.5, and one is 12 by 5.5 inches. Okay.
I have just typed it out.
All right. And then the Tyvek I've just cut in half. I think your American A4 size is slightly bigger, so you might not have to faff with this. But basically what we're doing is we're trying to cover as much of the card as we can with the Tyvek. And I'm just a cheapskate because I can't... I can find it in bigger pieces, but to cut it down to send it to people, it comes in like 1 metre by 1 metre, and I'm not going to sit and cut all of those out for people. It'll be a nightmare, and they'd be very, very wonky. I do have some wide tape in the shop. Mark, it is in there. If you type in sticks 2, you'll probably find it. Right, so I'm now going to do exactly the same with the wider hinge. Cat hairs everywhere.
No, it's not on the sticks too.
I'm trying to think what it's called. Just type in double-sided tape and it's...
I found it.
Oh, you found it? Oh, you're a star.
Yeah, it sticks to with space in it.
Oh, well, I like to be awkward.
And some of the handles.
Right, Lisa, white Tyvek. To be honest with you, doesn't matter because we're going to cover it anyway, mostly. You can paint it, I understand. You can cover it with ink. So we had this conversation the other day with somebody, and I'm sure somebody said that Stays On was the best ink to use to colour it.
I think Sue might have said that.
Yeah, I think it might have been Sue in the Scrap Lab group, actually. So Stays On works quite well. But like I said, what we're going to do in due course is we're going to cover it with these strips. So my Tyvek actually is here. It's on this side, on the inside, and you can't really see. I don't... Oh, well, you can see this, but you can't see that it's short, and you can't see that it's there because it's black. But you can just... You don't have to paint the whole thing. You can actually just paint the spiny bits that you see. Or, if all else fails, leave it white and call it a design feature. And you always intended that. That's what I do. A lot. Oh. Yeah, black marker pen would use something like a Pro Marker or a Sharpie. Especially if you're not covering a lot of it. It might not be black, but it'll be grey black. You might take some of the whiteness away. Right, so now I'm going to attach my Tyvek to the other piece, which I've just done incredibly badly because I wasn't looking what I was doing. And I'm just going to centre this in the middle and top to bottom as near as I can. Mel's got this down to a fine art, by the way. We did this at the retreat last year.
It's all in the tongue.
Yeah, it's all in the tongue. And Mel in the end ended up doing most people's because she was just so ace at it. Right, okay, so that's what you're going to have. Hopefully yours won't have so many cat hairs. Washi tape. Possibly. Washi tape, actually it would look pretty, but you might have to glue it with some glue because I don't often find that washi tape always works terribly well, but that's quite a nice idea actually, Karen. I like that. Right, yeah, so try it and see and send me some photos. Yeah, I know, Mel loves this bit. You got it down to a fine art, haven't you? Okay, right, so now I want you to score. But I want you to score with the Tyvek side up, okay? Because this is going to be the inside of our hinges. Now, word of caution. When you are scoring onto Tyvek, because Tyvek doesn't come black naturally, and it's actually a process, certainly in the UK, there's only one place that I can get it from in the UK. It's a process whereby the blackness is printed on. It means that obviously the Tyvek itself is white with a black topping. And if you press too hard, Alison, I'm glad you're very happy with your big boner. That makes me happy. Good. If you press too hard, you can end up scraping a little bit of the black covering away. And then that is where, Lisa, your Sharpie comes into its own, because you can always just, you know, colour it in with a Sharpie, but we're going to cover most of it anyway. But just a tip, don't worry too much. You might find that some of the black scrapes off. It's actually, unfortunately, part of the way the material works, but if you're careful, there is less chance of that happening. Right, so ladies, we are ready to score. We are going to score first of all on the piece that is 12 by 4.5 inches. We're going to score on the 4.5 inch side, so I want you to have the 4.5 inches at the top, and we are going to score at 1 inch. Tyvek side up, don't press too hard. Take it slow, okay? Less chance of anything terrible happening. That's worked perfectly. Luck rather than judgment. So score at 1 inch. Score at 1.5 inches. Press firmly but slowly. Don't go too deep, ladies. Score at 2 inches. There's a pattern here. Score at 2.5 inches. Score at 3 inches. And finally on this piece, score at 3.5 inches. So what we've got now is our hinge. We've got a 1 inch wing at either side. That's where we're going to attach it to the book. And we've got these score marks here, which is what allows our spines to bend. If you turn over, you will see I can still see, I've pressed hard enough that I can still see my score marks through onto the other side, okay? But because I've been careful, I haven't ripped any of the black covering off, okay? So now we're going to grab the piece that is 5.5 inches. We're going to score on the 5.5 inch side, and I want you to score at 1 inch, exactly the same way. So be firm but slow. Score at 1.5 inches. Score at 2 inches. At 2.5 inches. At 3 inches. 3.5 inches. 4 inches. And 4.5 inches. Okay, so what we've got here is a slightly wider hinge. We've got our 1 inch flaps at either side, and you'll see that we still have some Tyvek overlapping onto where our hinges, where our actual bits that connect to the book are. That is a positive, because we want some of that, because that's where there's going to be a degree of movement as well. Okay, so I have pressed hard enough that it shows through on the other side. Okay, but I haven't pressed so hard that I've actually ripped the black cover off my Tyvek. Okay, how are we doing? Right, are we all right? You're all concentrating again and discussing big boners. Okay? Right, so now we are going to connect our book together. When I designed the folio, I said that I had made a very big, almost 12 by 12 book before, which I had, and I love it. But one of the difficulties that I had with it was that it had a hard, very traditional outer covering, and I found that quite difficult to manage to make, and also difficult to manage to hold and look at the book. So that is why we are having a softer spine on this folio. It makes it easier to put together, it's less heavy, it's easier to manipulate, and it's easier to look at. Plus, of course, it gives us quite a lot more movement than you know, in a solid book. So you still, however, need some room for the next bit. So what we're going to do is we are going to get the back page of our book that we've already made. We've already put that side in there, okay? And we are going to attach the smaller hinge, which is the 4.5 inch width hinge. We are going to attach it into this side of the book. We don't need to mitre the ends because it is slightly, minimally shorter than the measurement here to here, because of course we put the connectors on so that we could use a whole 12 by 12 inch piece on the back here, okay, if we decide we want to do a layout. So what I want you to do now, and if you've made the rolled up mini, this is exactly the same process as we used in that. What I want you to do is, this is the 4.5 inch side, and I want you to put wet glue on that 1 inch wing, Tyvek side up, but I want you to put the glue on both sides up to that first score line, so that you've got your 1 inch wing there, okay? So you've got glue on both sides. And I want you to insert this into that right hand opening of your back page, center it top to bottom, up to that first score line, and I want you to glue that down, so that what you've now done is you have enclosed that back page. Because you had glue on both sides, you've now closed that up, okay? Cat hairs. You've now closed that up, all right? That is now shut. So what we need to do next, sorry Ruby, is get the piece that we made in part 2, which is our gatefold piece. And you'll remember that one side of it here is already enclosed, but we still have an opening here. So what we are going to do is we are going to put wet glue onto this wing here, this inch wing here, up to where that score line is of the hinge on both sides. So I want you to put wet glue on there on both sides. Oh, I'm doing this right-handed. Oh, there's some things I can do right-handed and some things I can't, and one of the things I can't is glue. So up to that first score line, I'm going to get part 2. I'm going to open up where that hole is there, and I'm going to slip the hinge into it up to that score line, and I am going to attach it like that. Okay. Oh look, more place photos here. That was me practicing. I learnt a lot practicing. Okay. So if I turn my book over, I've now got an enclosed gatefold piece. Okay. Now I don't really want to fold it yet because it's still sticking, but essentially that is going to fold over like that. Okay, so that, let me just grab my book. going to straighten that out in a minute because I'd rather it was straight for a second. What we've just done is we've attached this. Oh, I put it back the way it was in the beginning, we'd all be a lot better off. This is the foldery bit with the dual pocket there. There's some photo mats, and that's this bit here. Now obviously that lies really flat, and the reason that that lies flat and the one that I've just made doesn't is simply wear and tear. We want it to lie as flat as possible, but that's going to take time because we know that when we first make books they can be stiff. It's when they're open and closing all the time that's when they start to sit flatter. But this will be safe to open and close as often as we like because we've got Tyvek on it, and that will strengthen it. I'm sure it will still be sturdy enough without the Tyvek, but that's why I choose to use it, because I have total confidence that I can open and close my book as often as I like, and it's not going to tear and it's not going to fall to pieces, because at the end of the day this book is big and it is heavy by the nature of the fact that it's big. So that's why I use Tyvek. So what we're going to do next is this larger hinge here, which is the one that's 5.5 inches. So I think you can see where this is going. So this is the bit that I've just attached. That's all glued in nicely, and when it's all sorted that will sit like that. But now I'm going to attach the hinge to this side. So here is my 5.5 inch hinge. I don't know if I've missed anything because I took my glasses off when I was... Jill, it doesn't matter. However, for me, I put the Tyvek on the inside because I like to have the mountain part of the, the score on the outside. So the Tyvek is on the inside of the book. If you've done it the other way around, it doesn't matter. But that's just my preference. For me, that's tidier. So have I missed any other questions? I'm sorry, because I was busy and Mark was downstairs. So right, yeah, putting the oven on because it's tea time nearly. Right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the right hand side of this bigger hinge, and I'm going to do it in exactly the same way. I'm going to put glue on the wing up to the 1 inch, and I'm going to be very careful about how I do that because I haven't got as much Tyvek on this side as I had on the other one. I've got enough, but not as much, so I want to make sure that what I've got sticks really well. And I'm going to just put some glue on the other side. So now we're going to insert this onto the left hand gap of the back page underneath the page that we made last week. And that will essentially close up the gap on the back page. So if I open up that now, I can use my hand just to squidge that down. Just going to turn it over. As you can see, that all lines up now to that first score line. Probably could have done with... No. Yeah, my fault. It's because I'm not looking down on it. But that's probably a little bit further. It's not centred as well as I would like. But that's fine. It doesn't matter. Okay, so now we're going to put our final bit of the book together. We are going to attach our front page. Now, as you will remember, I haven't decided what I'm doing on my front page yet. So I've just left that blank. But this bit is already enclosed. But this bit we've got open underneath there. Okay, we've still got an open part. So I'm going to put some glue on that flap there up to that 1 inch mark, so all down that wing, and then I'm going to put it on the other side as well, because we are going to totally enclose now our book. Okay. So I'm now going to slit this. Make sure that you don't slip it into the wrong bit, because we've obviously got bits there. I'm going to slip it into the open bit of that book there onto the front cover. I've got a cat in the way, which isn't helping one bit. And I'm going to take that up to that score line. And I'm going to glue that down. I just open that up. And just stick it like that. Make sure that it's adhered really well. Okay. Right, turn my book over. And just make sure that that's adhered. So now my folio is all stuck together, and like I said, in time this will fold round. It'll all start to settle itself down. So that's the book put together. Now you need to decorate the back, and you need to decorate the inside of the back page however you choose, whether you're going to do that as a scrapbook layout or whether you are going to do a pocket. That's entirely up to you. My next job was to decorate the spines. Now when I cut my papers, I measure an area, and just say, for instance, I can't remember how big this is, but just say it was 6 by 8. I would cut a piece of paper to mat that 1/8 of an inch smaller. So if it was 6 by 8, I would cut it at 5 7/8 by 7 7/8, if that makes sense. So bear that in mind when you are cutting your strips to go onto your hinges. If you cut them at exactly 1/2 inch, it's not going to sit right, because every time you come to fold your book, it's going to, your strips are going to be just that bit too wide that they're going to bend, and it'll just look a mess. Okay, you don't want to do that. So I cut my strips at 12 inches by 3/8 of an inch. See you later, Lisa. Okay, so just cut a strip, and I'll do one now just to show you. Just let me choose a piece of 12 by 12 papers, and I'll have a think about which I'm going to use. I'll probably use, I think I'm going to use a really plain one. I'm going to use this one. So I'm going to cut these at the 12 inches. Now this is when Mark's precision thingy comes into play. Let's have a look, see if it works. At 3/8 of an inch. This probably isn't the easiest trimmer to do these small measurements on, to be fair. Let's line it up. Actually, I'll tell you a better way to do this. I know this piece of paper is 12 inches. Let me just check. Right, I'm just going to cut that down. That's exactly 12 inches now. So if I move that in 3/8 of an inch, so it's now 11 5/8 of an inch, and I cut it there, I'm going to have a strip of paper that's 3/8 of an inch. Did that make sense? So I'm doing it the other way round. Rather than measuring 3/8 of an inch, I'm taking 3/8 of an inch off the length, and it makes it a whole lot more manageable. So I'm only going to do one just to show you how I've done it. But I'm just going to ink the edges very quickly. Oh, cat. Is that Loki? Yeah? Loki? What? Where are you? Where is he? I can hear him. Oh. Just going to ink the edge. Better not lose that. And I'm going to glue this now onto my hinge. So I'm just going to pop, actually I'll do it on the inside because it'll make better sense. Just pop some glue onto that. Turn it over. See, this is when it starts getting a bit big and unwieldy. But it's only short term, because once it's done, it's fine. And I'm going to glue this now in between the score lines. Ooh. In between the score lines. Like that. And it means that when I come to close it up, these bits they're not gonna stick out and get folded over, because you know sometimes when you cut a piece of paper just a little bit too big and then you fold something up and it creases what's underneath, that doesn't happen if you cut these at 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so I'm going to decorate all of those. I'm going to put those all on that side, and then I'm going to put them all on the other side as well, because I think that just looks a whole lot neater and tidier. So there you go. You might be able to use ribbon, 4-inch ribbon on the inside of the binding piece. You mean all in one go, and do it all in one go, so you haven't got the splits between them. The only thing that I would say with that is that you could well end up with bubbles. One of the reasons that I said about the Tyvek and making sure that that's stuck down completely is because what I found with glue is that if it doesn't glue 100% consistently across the whole piece, it kind of bubbles a bit, so that when you come to fold it, you can just get little bubbles and it doesn't quite sit right, and that's why I do each of them separately. Yes, it takes more work, but I honestly believe that the end result is absolutely worth it. Okay, Tallulah, I want to know the answer to that. What is it that you've got that's big and sticky? Actually, you know what, don't think I want to know. Right, you ladies need to come to one of the retreats, because you'd fit in so well, I'll tell you. Right, so your homework for this week, ladies, is to finish off your book in terms of sticking it all together. You can put on all of your strips, you know, for your binding, and you'll find that it will just naturally start to bend itself into the right sort of place. Now, before we get on to do our inserts and photo mats next week, you can now, if you choose, and I'm going to use the AB Studio as a perfect example of this, start to decorate up your books inside. I'm going to do the same with the Christmas one that I'm doing. But as you can see here, I have done a lot of fussy cutting. So I've done a lot of fussy cutting, and I've stuck bits on here, and I've stuck bits on here, and just generally I've just cut out and added bits on. You can now do that, because it's, you know, you're not going to damage them when, you know, by adding other bits. So if you want to start prettying up your books and adding all of the little pretty bits to make it all look pretty, you go ahead. So next week, one of the things that we're going to look at is we're going to look at these inserts here with these shaker pockets. What's an idea for an insert that we're going to have a look at, that I've done on the AB Studio. I haven't done it on the, oh, I can't put this in now, story of my life, can't get it in. I've done it on the AB Studio. I didn't do it on the Travelog ones, but if you've had a kit, you can absolutely still do it the same way, because I've put you the acetate in, and I've put you oh, don't start sneezing again, Ruby. And I've put you sequins and stuff in. And then here's another little booklet that I made. This is very much like the original brag book that we did as our very first class. I've only put one photo mat in it there, but I just wanted to show you that, you know, you can do more than just ordinary photo mats to go into your books. So next week we'll talk about photo mats, we'll talk about inserts. But as far as I'm concerned, that's it for today. Your books are now in one piece, so well done guys, because that is a mammoth job. So decorate up your spines and decorate up your covers and your insides if you want to do your fussy cutting, if you want to add, I don't know, some of the cutter parts. I'm dropping all my books here. It's up to you now. You can go ahead and you can decorate and make it super pretty. And then next week what we'll do is we will just finish off with the photo mats. So well done for bringing it this far. I think you've done amazing. If you're waiting for the Alice kits, I haven't had the paper from the wholesaler yet, so as soon as it comes in, which I'm told is Friday, these will go out. I'm not waiting until Wednesday to post. These will go out as soon as they are ready. So I have to tell you that I had a set number of kits which you bought in seconds. So I managed to grab some more from the wholesaler, which is on its way at the moment. So actually you cleared me out twice. So I think there's only about 2 kits left out of the 3rd restock. So I can't thank you enough for that. And we'll start that in a couple of weeks. So I think that's all I've got to say. Put pictures in the group because I love to see them, as you know. And I'll see you tomorrow, maybe in the crafting together with all brands group. We're going to make our nesting die book, and then next week, like I said, back here on Wednesday for the finishing touches. So enjoy, send me lots of photos, and I'll see you guys really soon.
Bye.
Bye.